How's it going, guys? So PJ and John from Elite Fitness and Performance Academy and also Hybrid Fitness. Today's call we have James Breese. So James was one of our mentors a few years ago. We went to a few of his events. Very, very smart dude. Set up multiple companies and with his earphones stuff on. And I just have a few things here because when I was doing a bit of research into James, I just wanted to know who the real James Breese was. So there's James.
No one knows. Yeah. No one knows the real James Breese.
Is it the James Breese, the solicitor from England? Is it the James Breese who is the avid fitness fan and lover of the outdoors?
Isn't that you not a police officer, James? Solicitor?
I was indeed, yeah.
No.
My sins. But it's that's solicitor's funny because I was actually meant to go to Oxford and do law at Oxford, and I had one day there and I walked out because I couldn't do it. It just was not me. Like it was it. So I was going to be a solicitor, but I realised after one day, no chance. So I left Oxford, went to Cardiff instead.
So I was just doing a little bit of background, and what I actually found as well the other day when I was clearing out my house was my old SFG practice manual with you on the back, and it still says the same stuff in the back that I found on the line, which is Krav Maga, global instructor, Strongfirst Sfg, founder of Kettlebell Fever, and founder of the StrengthMatters magazine, summit, and podcast. James' mission is to bring like-minded people together through educational events to continually push the boundaries of the health and fitness industry. Would you still say you're like that today?
I think so. I don't think I've ever changed since it's back in the days, I think. But yeah, no, I think it's something along those lines. How you doing, boys? You well?
All good, James. All good. Good to see you, man.
That's obviously why I
good to see you guys.
For James' experience and obviously in education and teaching people, and then obviously for the background of business. Our industry obviously is out there to help people, and we want to change people's lives and impact as many people's lives as we can. And obviously to do that there and continue to do that, you need to have some form of business sense and obviously be able to make money in this industry. So we are here just to pick James's brains, and hopefully he can give us some great tips and obviously talk to us about his upcoming things.
So James, first question, what are you doing these days? So what are you at these days? We know you're still with StrengthMatters, everything. Tell us about what's going on.
So I'm currently in San Diego. So I'm currently in Pacific Beach in San Diego at the moment. We got so many things going on. There's like StrengthMatters has had such a change over the last, say, 12 and 18 months for a number of reasons, both because of business ideas have changed with me. B, my own training and philosophies and training have changed, which led to more business changes down the road. So at the moment, I'm in San Diego. We've got a couple of big events coming up. We've got a new certification in New York coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm here. Phil McDougall, the head of performance, lives here with his wife, Casey, who's my editor for the magazine still. So they live in San Diego. So I'm out here doing a bunch of work and filming loads of vlogs and stuff at the moment too. So I'm here living at large in San Diego temporarily. Long way from Kansas, back in Wales, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So James, tell us this, these days, what is the certification consisting of? So when we done our StrengthMatters certification, obviously it was solely based on the fundamental kettlebell movements. But we know these days, like it's kind of spanned through numerous different disciplines. So we know that like indoor rowing has a big part to play with it, and just being like in your own sort of words, an everyday athlete. So what can people expect when they go to StrengthMatters certification?
I think here's the biggest thing. So when we first, like I was involved with Strongfirst a long time ago, and I was involved, when we split and I went towards StrengthMatters, the goal was, I don't know what, there was something missing in my own training, because this whole company, this whole thing has been about me. It's in a selfish way. It's been my journey to try and become a better athlete, injury-free, all these things, trying to find the right principles. And along the whole way, share these ideas with everybody, like everyone along the line, so they can learn at the same time. Because that's why I was seeing so many courses and stuff in the States that weren't happening in the UK and people missing out on the stuff. And that's been the whole reason why I've been doing all this. But like, when we split and with StrengthMatters went down the whole kettlebell route again, the goal was to be different, but it didn't end up being that way. It ended up being pretty much the same. And that's something that was not what I wanted. There was our own little spin on things, and there were differences, but we were still known as this third kettlebell company, and it's like rehashed, stuff from the Pavel, from the Strongfirst days, which I totally understand. It wasn't what I intended, but it ended up being that way.
Yeah.
But when we started to realize that, as we were going down here, then me and Mark Rifkin, love Mark's a bit. Mark's awesome. Mark's a great coach, great mentor, such a knowledgeable guy. We just realized that our paths were going different. And I respect him so much for going back to Strongfirst, because that's his roots, that's his style of his training.
Yeah.
And like, fair play to him. So much respect for him for doing that and saying, hey, I think it's right if I go this way. And I agree, because my route was becoming more the athletic route. I wasn't chasing numbers on lifting weights anymore. I was more interested in this going back to becoming athletic. Because like back in the day, my thoughts were, it was rugby, it was cricket, it was football or soccer, if you guys listening in the States, and I was a lot of running. And during this period of about 5, 6, 7 years, I wasn't running, I wasn't rowing. And suddenly I had this like brain melt moment. I was in Australia. My ex-girlfriend at the time said, hey, should we go for a trail run? And I went, yeah, I'll do a trail run. That sounds well fun. I went running for a minute and I died. I could not run a minute. And she brought her friends out, and they were all non-fitness people. And they were looking at me going, don't you work in the fitness industry? And I went, yep. It was the most embarrassing thing ever. And I was like, holy crap, what has happened to me? So that was the first thing. And then I went to, then my mate Andrew Reid said, hey man, do my running program. So he gave me his running program for 6 weeks, did the walk run method. Good book, highly recommend it for anyone who wants to get into running. Did that for 6 weeks and I said, okay, this is feeling good. And the second thing was I went to play cricket down in Melbourne, right? And I haven't played cricket for a while. I used to play quite a high level. And, the Aussies and the Poms, have this thing, like they hate each other pretty much. Well, I was a Pom that rocked up to nets and I got peppered, like fast bowling in my chest, in my head. Like I was the most unathletic on a sports field I'd ever done. And it kind of like set off two things. It was like, well, hang on a second. If that's the case, there's something wrong with my own training. It's not where I want it to be, because the stuff that I enjoy doing is this team sports, outdoor pursuits, lifestyle. And if my training's not good for me, well, I need to look at the whole thing. And that's where StrengthMatters changed. It was like, okay, hang on a second. Let's look at the kettlebell as a tool as opposed to a standalone system, because a kettlebell, when you're training, you're still very rooted in one space. Your feet are rooted, your feet are planted. It's essentially in one space. Let's look at like locomotion. Let's look at movement and then start developing this. So that's kind of why we changed over and we started developing our own system where we go, hey, let's define what athleticism is. Because I don't think anyone really has defined it. And let's find a system that's easy to implement and easy to use, that we can teach the world and say, hey, this is our thought, this is our thought process. So like I said, we've gone from a kettlebell as being a standalone system to now more of a, hey, it's a tool as part of a toolkit. Like it's the right tool for the right job. And, here's our big thing, which may be controversial, is that a kettlebell isn't something for cardio. Like for cardio, you training, you've got to run, you've got to row, you've got to cycle, walk, another big thing as well. So it's, it's seeing outside the box, seeing the bigger picture. And honestly, like just for me personally, changing my training system accordingly, I've dropped 32 pounds, right, in 18 months. Nice. Right. My strength has gone up. Like my run, I started running again. I couldn't run for a minute. Now I'm running sub 6 minute miles. It's little things, and I just feel healthy. It's not elite level by any standards, but for me, it's consistent across the board. But I've not lost any strength. In fact, my strength has gone up by just changing the approach. Does that make sense, boys? Like,
we can. I mean, from ourselves, we can relate that big time, James, because it's like, I mean, obviously, I competed in kettlebell sport and stuff like this here, and the two of us competed in the TSC and all this here sort of stuff. And after a while, you realize, like, and what we've realized as coaches, and the more experience you get, is that you don't get drawn into the kind of the one method of thinking. So a lot of the time for years, so we would have spent a lot of the time going, listen, strength is the only way, like this is the only way forward, and blah blah blah. But then after a sort of while, you realize is that strength is just a tool. Kettlebells are just a tool. Barbells are just a tool in order to get
Yeah.
to become a better athlete all round. So
Yeah.
we can relate to what you're saying 100%. Like,
I really just, it's still new to me, like in terms of, well, not new to me, but for a while there, based on my fitness goals, you know, last year it was to squat at like 200 kilos. And so my primary focus was I was almost just training like a powerlifter. And I lost that, and it was a case of, right, I needed to be big, strong, I need to recover from sessions. And then when I've transitioned over, I usually have like a body composition and a fitness goal that I want to achieve. When it comes to summertime, you're going, right, I need to get these abs back. And I just started back doing cardio a few weeks ago, and it was like, shit, like this shit is hard. And now I'm 3-4 weeks in. Yeah, I'm smashing out wads with some of the guys. I'm actually enjoying cardio, running. I'm actually enjoying rolling.
Yeah.
You passed me on Phil's manual on how to improve the 500 meter row. I rode my 2,000 meters last night, and I checked my wattage and my time. So I'm going to start including that into my program to try and get my 500 meter rows up. So it definitely is
that program.
Yeah, and
I was saying that.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so sorry. I think it's a slight delay, but like I said, that program from Phil is phenomenal. Like you wouldn't believe that is our #1 article that gets hit. We get like 500 hits a day on that article found on Google, and we've had people from all over the world, Olympic committees, all sorts on that rowing program because of the way it is. So like honestly, like Phil's found something. Like he took my, like here's the other thing. When I first tried the 500 meter row test, I rode 156 and died. I was like, what the hell is happening here? I was like, what? This is terrible. Like I couldn't do anything for 2-3 days. My whole CNS was fried, right? And I was rowing the other day, and like I'm now rowing 125s following that program. Like again, it's not elite level, but it's anything sub 130 we think is a good overall benchmark to maintain. But that Phil's program is phenomenal. So if you haven't seen it, give it a go. It'll knock off so much time off your 500 meters for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to implementing that. And just like even with the training programs that myself and John run and the coaching programs we've just realized we do use, like I find, and I say this to our students, that 90% of the time or 90% of the population really do well with a strength component, you know, say a hypertrophy endurance and cardiovascular and lots of movement. You know, if everyone can have a taste of everything, I think it does develop them into, and that we'll ask what your term for the everyday athlete is, but it just develops them into, you know, someone who is stronger, more flexible, being able to cope with if they have to run after their kids or whatever it is. And, you know, for most people, I think that's super important. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. This is what we've discovered, and this is something that we're playing around with behind the scenes, and we've got a book coming out at the end of this year, which everyone will see more about what's going on and understand the systems. But here's something we've talked about behind the scenes is that we don't necessarily believe in periodization for the everyday athlete.
Yeah.
Because not everybody these days is in the same place for 12 weeks. There's so many different factors now into people's daily habits and lifestyles that life gets in the way.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is like, you know, Phil's ex-Marines, you know, we talk about being battle ready for everyday life. And that's kind of the things we're talking about. It's like, well, your workouts need to complement everyday life. They also need to think about long term, because if you go for a periodization program and you're, say, a guy who works in the city who travels 6 times, you know, a month or whatever, they're not going to have the same equipment in the same gyms. They're not going to have the same equipment here, there, and everywhere. It's got to be adaptable along the whole process. So it's like, yes, I believe in periodization for the right reasons, but for the everyday person, the everyday athlete, you got to think outside the box a little bit more, because it just doesn't always apply. Life gets in the way.
Yeah. See, just based on what you were saying there, I don't know if it was you guys. I actually seen someone posted that. It was like, periodization doesn't work to a degree, because every scientific article will assume that person is the same in terms of adaptation to the next group. You know, if you take a group of people and say, right, here's a 12-week periodized program on strength or hypertrophy, you're assuming that these people will adapt all at the same rate, which is not necessarily you know, the case all the time. So, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head. For me, that's where I think DUP, you know, became really popular. Also, the likes of Joel Jameson's heart rate variability, and basically just knowing your body and knowing when to back off and knowing when to push. And I think that's, especially in our industry, everyone talks about deloads and when should they come and when should we refeeds and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, your body will tell you. You know yourself, when you did that trial run, you were like,
yeah. Totally. And it's been funny. And like the biggest thing I had, like I've just done if you guys are going to chat this, I've just put a vlog out a couple of days ago because I've started vlogging now and showing, because like it's insane. Everyone's always said, hey James, you need to share where you are, who you're with. Like I was like, okay, I will do one day. And I keep forgetting. But I was on base with the Navy SEALs, a good friend of ours, Tom Shipler, who's a commander down there. Like he's like third in charge of the whole base or something stupid like that. And he just took us around the whole thing. We saw the whole assault course. We saw the bell they have to ring. We saw like, where, in the sea where they're doing all their training and stuff. Yeah, it was insane. It was like, it was so cool. But I went and I met the whole performance team. And this is where so my challenge this year is to run 3 miles in 18 minutes, right? That's my kind of goal. Because this is not because like it's a random time picked out. It's because when I was speaking to the performance team there, all the data they have over the last 10 years, right? They found out that the biggest indicator to passing SEAL training is your 3 mile run time. They reckon that 86% of candidates who can run the 3 miles sub 18 and a half minutes, right? Has an 86% chance of passing everything else. It doesn't matter what your bench is. It doesn't matter what your deadlift is. That's the number one factor, because it tells about your ability to endure and your ability to recover quickly under extreme circumstances. And that's what they need. That's the overall idea of like what they need is like the ability to recover, to thought process, to cope with the demands of everything else. And that what they said about the deadlift was they don't want more than 1.5 times body weight for 5 reps. That's it. Because anything above that has a diminishing effect for their overall appearance here. So like my thought process now, this is why I'm doing the run. Is like, okay, well, I can run 6 minutes miles now. 3 miles, holy crap, I got to start upping my game a bit more. But the point is, well, it's the ability to endure everyday life now. It's like I'm not testing against anything. I'm not going to be in the Olympics for this or anything like this. It's a case of, well, if I can have the ability to endure and recover quicker, right, surely I can cope with anything that life throws in my way, whether it's in business, whether it's in training, whether it's just going up, whatever I want to do. So that's kind of my focus for this year based on that. And you talk about Joel Jameson. I love his HRV stuff, but what we're playing around with now is like going, well, what if you haven't got these fancy gadgets? How do you do all this stuff? How do you control and stuff that, what if you take technology out of the equation? So that's why we talk about being real, simple results. That's our kind of focus at the moment. And we're like saying, well, let's strip everything back. Let's go back to complete basics and see what's happening and what's working. So we're looking at, we talk about mantra. What's your mantra when you're running? How do you know where you're at when you're running? What's the feeling? What's the pace? How do you know if you're on an RPE scale of like, is your exertion of 10 if you're sprinting, or is it 1? Know your own body first before going to fancy technology. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We're actually just, both of us are reading the same book at the minute. It's called Extreme Ownership, James. Don't know if you've read it.
Yeah, with Jacko Willink.
Jacko Willink, yeah. He sort of talks about SEAL training. Well, obviously that's what the book is based on, and how it relates to business and stuff as well. It's a very, very good book. You just kind of reminded us of it there, and it's on topic as well. It's
awesome. It's so funny. Tom Shibler, right, who took me around the base, he was Jacob's trainer in SEALs, in Buds. He literally took him through the whole thing. All the stories are true. Honestly, this is from Tom himself. They all respect him so much because like everything he says is real life here. So like the book is amazing. He's a genuine guy and all the stories are true. That's from inside the base.
That's superb. Yeah.
See, just what you said there, I don't think anyone can ever quantify it, but just based on what you said with the Navy SEAL stuff, it's almost a needs analysis of what you need to do to pass. Because I remember I was in squatting one time and I was with a competitive rower, and we were working up and he was doing like 140 kilos for like 10 reps plus, and I was working up and I was like, are you not going to go any heavier? Like that seems pretty easy. And he knew his sport was like, listen, gold medal standard elite level rowers only need to do this. So like there was that point of I could get a little bit stronger, but it might not cross over to what I actually need to do.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's. Do you have a standard what you would call for the everyday athlete? I'm sure you do. Like what you would consider should be able to do.
Yeah, no. So we've put a bunch of standards together now, and like this is, we're talking about what we call the golden movements, and the golden movements are stuff that improves your strength overall day-to-day life and on a big level without having a detrimental effect to your athleticism, your body, injuries. We always talk about the risk versus reward ratio. Like, is this exercise going to hurt me? Yes or no? Is it likely going to hurt me? Yes or no? Because we want to stay injury free. So we have a bunch of standards. So we've created this new hierarchy of athletic development, and it has 3 layers. We call them rookie, explorer, and pros. Okay, so just so we can work out where people are at very quickly. For a pro level, we think that people should be able to bench press 60% of the body weight. Okay. Deadlift body weight in a single arm barbell suitcase deadlift, right? Run sub 6 minute mile, row sub 7 minutes, and then have some basic, mobility, flexibility standards as well. And that's kind of like, it's very simple. And the reason that we say bench press is because we find it's one of the golden movements. We think a bench press, anybody can do it at the level, like from the progressions at the bottom to the advanced kind of, crazy twist and move up here. It's not, the end goal of the bench press is not for everyone, but everyone can do the progressions, right? It's safer on the shoulders, and we think it doesn't, from what we've seen, you can just keep loading weight without it being detrimental to the human body. Does that make sense? So if you're pressing military press, people's shoulders go all the time. Like it's constantly, you load heavy, and it's like, you're broken pretty much. But with a bench press, you're using the whole body. You need mobility, you need thoracic mobility, you need, all these different components to show a healthy body to be able to lift that heavier weight. Same with the deadlift. So this is what we're toying with at the moment now. If you want to pursue heavy deadlifts, great. That's a specific sport, specific goal. But for everyday athleticism, we're now about to start arguing that maybe you should only do the barbell suitcase deadlift, okay? Because you can keep loading the weight. Think about everything, the grip, the shoulder packing. You need everything dialed in. The complete opposite side is fired up and lit up. And we're arguing that you can keep loading weight on this without having any likelihood of risking injury further down the line, but it improves your overall athleticism on a day-to-day basis. And it's the results we're getting in with this as well is quite significant, because we're seeing people's deadlifts, conventional deadlifts, go up because they're locking in and training their weaknesses, doing the single arm, the barbell stuff. Yeah. And so the standards, so like our goal, our thoughts are like, hey, you got all the CrossFit stuff, that's wonderful, that's very elite level, and that's also a very high risk to injury some of the time, so do some of these and keep going. What's the middle ground where like an everyday person can keep training? So, and our thoughts are, you should be able to run, you should be able to row, you should be able to lift heavy stuff, and like have a baseline of a good GPP of everything, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, James, 100%. James, so obviously we work in delivering education, much like yourself, and you've done it throughout the years. What are your sort of thoughts on how education is delivered in general, in terms of the fitness industry? So I know you're kind of traveling a wee bit now, and obviously you can give us a wee bit of background as to what it's like in the States, what it's like in Australia, and what it's like where you're from as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So like, I'm from Wales originally, so like just over the pond, in mid Wales. There was no fitness education where I grew up. There was nothing. My fitness education came when I was in the police in London. I managed to convince my bosses to pay for my personal training courses whilst I was in the police, and that's how I kind of fell into this whole world. So I started training all those guys.
Course, James?
Say again?
How was your course? How was your PT course?
Awful. Like here's what happened. So like I did, so boss Steve said, hey, okay, I'll pay for your personal training course. I did. I went there. I did my level 3, and I was like, okay, Steve, I didn't learn anything. okay, I need to do another course, right? And that was it. This was back in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And I was working with a very, specific elite sort of units within the police at the time and helping their rehab and stuff like, I still, as part of the police, but as a hobby, I was doing all this stuff. So I then led to another course, and it led me to doing the RKC Kettlebell Cert, then led me to do the FMS, it led me to do other things. And what I found was that the UK government is very much, in charge of what they deliver on the personal training side of things. And they've, you've got to follow their hierarchy of development. But it's about 15, 20 years behind of what the current research is. So my advice to anybody now is do your PT course, but it's the knowledge afterwards, the further education courses that are the most important and vital to your ongoing education.
Yeah.
So that was in the UK and stuff like that. So like I know Sean, I know Jason, I know you boys, at Elite, I know you guys have been trained from the top down from all different things, and you look at different varieties. So I know the quality you guys put out is exceptionally high, based within the parameters of what you can deliver as part of the, of what you have to do.
We have. It's, based on the skills active and requirements that is expected in the UK. It's like, the best way it was explained to us was, it's like learning how to pass your driving test. Now we know that person's never going to drive like that once they pass their test, and where our role comes in is like, we're going to teach you how to pass your driving test, but we're going to give you these little nuggets of, a decade of experience of us, investing in that education. And that's where what we say is our unique selling point. Not, field instructors who decide to become a teacher, like still actively training people today, still investing in our education, and obviously speaking to people like yourselves helps us as well along the way.
That's exactly right. Honestly, that's the big thing people need to realize is, hey, it's all about further education, but knowing what to go and speaking, finding a mentor, finding people to learn, because I know for a fact that I've done hundreds of courses. Some I wish I'd never did. Some I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. And there's other courses where I've taken the best bits of the weekend. There's been like, you may not agree with everything, but you've taken one or two things and applied it to your own style and unique system. And like, so it's always important to keep on learning. And like I said, it's, if you're just a new PT, like, find a reputable company with people with experience who've done here, been here, who understand that you've got to balance out the needs of the government plus other things here, but have an understanding that you need to go beyond after this and go, okay, look, listen to these guys. What have they done? How have they survived in the industry for 10 years? Because the average lifespan is 18 months, which is shocking. Yeah. Like the average lifespan is 18 months for a trainer. And then you touched on the start. It's like, you talk about the idea of the business side of things and the PTs being involved with business. Like it goes hand in hand. Like, you need to have the PT knowledge and the education plus the business acumen to help support you every step of the way.
Speaking of which, James, so a lot of our followers are obviously interested in how we run our business, and obviously they're going to want to know like a bit from you. I mean, obviously you've been very successful right across the board in whatever you've done. So, like, who would say to inspire you in business? Where do you get your ideas from? What sort of literature would you point people in the direction of?
So that's a great question. I'm at a marketing conference next week. Actually, it's here in San Diego. I'm going to digital market. I'm going to the Digital Marketers Team Traffic and Conversion Summit.
Yeah, Rand Dice.
Yeah, it should be good. Should be good. Like it's it depends on where you're at. Like at the moment, I'm very much heavy into personal branding and realizing that people want to be more personable and like seeing what's going on behind the scenes of different things happening. So I'm very much in the world of creating vlogs and high-end vlogs. Here's a tip just on a side note altogether. The same way that podcasts have become very popular in the last, say, year or two, in about 3 to 4 years' time, I think video vlogs are going to be huge. And if you want to see people who are doing really well right now, this is outside the industry. It's a guy called Peter McKinnon and Casey Neistat. Check out those guys and see what the vlogs that they're doing. Yeah, seriously, write it down. Peter McKinnon is awesome, and Casey Neistat. And this is where my vlog ideas are coming from them, because you can do all these crazy things to get people to know about you, the lifestyle, and more personal. It's all about personal branding. Like Gary Vaynerchuk talks about personal branding a lot. So, that's good. But You need to earn the right to get to that stage. So my head's very much in that stage at the moment. But for anybody just starting, my best advice is know your numbers. Like, get Xero, the accounting software, get a bank account, connect the two of them, monitor what you're spending, what you can afford. Because I see so many trainers go into debt in a big way that it's the biggest mistake. And like, I'm all for paying for marketing and doing all these things, but do the basics first, guys. Get your accounting in order first, because if you don't know how much you're making or how much you're spending, you're going to be in big trouble. And that's the biggest thing I see. Most trainers lose their business because they haven't got a grip on their numbers. And it sounds really boring and really like hey, nothing like fancy and sexy, but I tell you this now, it'll save you so much time and effort.
Yeah, well,
buy Xero for like, it is nailing the basics. And then the other thing as well is like, Andy McKenzie, we spoke about him before. It was Andy McKenzie. I can't remember if we spoke with her or was it the call before, but he says about dominate your local postcode. And I think that's a really good way to look at it when it comes to marketing, is like, you don't have the right to go and market on Facebook or Twitter or anything at all until everybody in your local town knows who you are. Yeah. Like, you're going out and meeting people, developing real relationships with people. So that's kind of like a big thing for anyone who's newbie starting out, is, like, get your accounting in order, dominate your local postcode, and then you can play around with the fancy stuff later down the line. I'm being videoed here as well. Hey, Ryan. All right, just really starting to film me now as well. And then you can start playing with the fancy, cool stuff later down the line. But it's basics, and also, are you a good trainer? Are you a good coach? Are you getting results? Because if you're not, then you're always going to struggle, no matter what you do.
What I loved there was when you were talking about the personal branding. There's a guy came to mind, a guy who I follow, Gordon Greenhorn. Gordon did a video log of his whole bodybuilding prep, 6 months, every single day, what he went through, what he had. And I actually found it quite highly addictive. And I was just like, I want to see what he's doing today. And then what you're doing, I think, with your vlogs and what we do with our live videos and stuff is we're putting a face to education. So people can see that you are the CEO of StrengthMatters, but then here is the CEO of StrengthMatters. Here's what I do. Here's why I do what I do. And this is what, and I think that's, as you say, is going to be so impressible on people. Hiding behind a corporate name is, I think, is losing its power.
It's done.
Absolutely, totally, and that's the biggest thing for me, is because, like, when I was in the police, there was a motto in some of the units I was working with, and the motto was, "The invisible man is the powerful man." Okay, like, for anyone who's like in certain aspects of the police, they'll know what that means. But the point was, I was doing the same with StrengthMatters. So I was like, well, no, it's not about me; it's about everybody else. It's about about the trainers, it's about the coaches, it's about everyone else. I don't want to be in front of the camera. And that was just me. But the biggest shift for me in the last, say, couple of months was like, no, do you know what? I need to be seen on the forefront, going through the same journey as everybody else. Like, what am I doing? How am I training? What am I learning? Like I said, it's like, hopefully Tom will let me film next time I go on base with the SEALs, because if I can show a video, hey guys, look, I'm on base with the SEALs. This is what it's like inside the base, right? I'm giving something an insight to people's minds where, look, hey, something that not everyone will see on a day-to-day basis. This is how they're really training. This is how they're, little things like that, which I think is a huge thing. So yeah, don't be afraid to go in front of a camera and just show yourself. Read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Crushing It. That's a good way to look into it. And start, don't be afraid to put yourself on camera. And, if people start hating on you, that's okay, because you're going to get haters and you get lovers, essentially. So it's...
We spoke about this. We were just on a call with a little mentoring group that we have, and we were talking about what Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels would call the attractive character. And, Gary V is very good at this. And it's just like being that person and being relatable. And someone had a quote, it was like, most people are going to like you because you've been on the journey that they are currently on, and they want to see, how you did it. And so, we're obviously speaking to you because we're obviously trying to build our own industry, and we've seen what you've done with StrengthMatters. That's obviously one of the reasons why I would give you a call. But building that attractive character, building that rapport with people, and getting people to know, like, and trust you. And I'm just finished Jordan Belfort's book, The Way of the Wolf, and he talked about his,
that's a good book.
Yeah, it's 3 10s. The product, the person, or you essentially, and obviously the company. And if they are not 100% certain about the product, and they're not 100% certain about you, and they're not 100% certain about your company, then they're not going to buy. And
that's so true. I haven't read that book in such a long time. I might actually just dig that out again, because that's so true. Product, person, company. I forgot about that. That's a really good book. But yeah, it's so go.
Oh, go ahead, James. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine. That's right. No, it's one of those things that, you know, the fitness industry is such an interesting industry right now. There's so many things out there. There's so many things I love about it. There's so many things I hate about it. And it's, you know, it's interesting to see what the market wants as well. And like, you know, for us as trainers who are highly educated, who like really want to invest in their training, there's also a big market for people who don't really know. They just want the fancy bells and whistles, the fun stuff. So you're seeing these Insta famous people come out everywhere, all over the place, and they're selling all sorts of stuff. So I think, you know, this is the other thing as well. Like, don't try and copy what other people are doing. Try and just stay true to what you guys and what you believe in and what you value in. And that's, you know, it always works down the long haul. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's, you know, if that's anything, that's one of the, you know, I've made so many mistakes. Everyone says like, hey, StrengthMatters is doing well, but like, hey, I've made massive mistakes as well. And you learn from mistakes more than you do your successes. And like, you know, but the only thing is just stay true to yourself. Because that's the other thing as well, is like, don't try and push a product that you don't believe in 100%, because that's one of the mistakes that I was doing. Like I was pushing this kettlebell cert, which I didn't believe in 100%. I didn't know it at the time, but I now know, no, the stuff I'm pushing now is like, yeah, no, I believe in this stuff now. This works for me. It works for people around us. And this is the right thing. This is my ethos. Because if your ethos isn't coming through in your company, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. Lovely, James. Lovely. So James, we'll cut it short here. Not cut it short. Anyway, we'll leave it back to the sunshine. But one question we'll ask you: can we expect the StrengthMatters Summit to be back anytime soon?
Absolutely. So the summit's back in May this year in San Diego, because obviously, you know, it's our kind of like main spot here, and we're looking to bring the summit back to the UK in 2019. It's 2019 now, so that's the goal. It's always hard. We wanted to bring it back in 2018, but we couldn't get the speakers because they always booked out 12-18 months in advance.
What do you mean?
So
what do you mean?
Hey, well, as a comedy duo, or like just as the main starter, you know.
Of course, I can be the fat one.
There we go.
That was always funnier.
We only charge like 500 quid an hour. What are you talking about?
Oh, is that it? Perfect.
Yes.
You boys are perfect then.
Great.
Done. Let's make it happen.
There you go.
Nah, boys, thanks for having me on and stuff. Like, I'm back in the UK end of April. So the plan is to do a bit of a mini tour, come over to Belfast and see people as well. So I'll definitely jump in and see you boys for sure.
Yeah. So James, just before we go, where can people get more information about you, about StrengthMatters, and whatever certifications you have coming up?
Cool. Yeah, just very simply, you can now go to strengthmatters.com. I say can now because, like, if you can see the bags under my eyes, I've been up half the night trying to save strengthmatters.com because we had Russian hackers hacking into it all night.
I couldn't get
like
off last night. I was wondering. I was like, what?
Yeah. We had a full-blown Russian attack on my website last night. Like we had the server guys working. I was there working with everything. We saved it all. We managed to save it all. Even with the higher security we had, it was being blasted. We were like having like millions of hits trying to smash their way into it, but we fixed it. Like,
you obviously didn't vote for Trump. If you'd have voted for Trump, the Russian hackers wouldn't have touched you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, but so you can now go to strengthmatters.com. That, you know, and that's all the information for the company. I don't really, you know, if you want to follow me on Instagram at James Breese, you know, see what I'm up to, see what I'm doing, and then we're doing a bunch of vlogs behind the scenes and stuff we're doing on YouTube as well with StrengthMatters. So yeah, those are the best ways. And yeah, look, if you need anything at all, always reach out. We're happy to ask and happy to help. But for anyone listening who's starting their career in the PT industry, yeah, good luck. You know, literally learn from these boys. Make sure you invest in education, and keep investing in your education as you move forward. That's my best advice.
Thanks, James. Perfect. Pleasure as always, man.
No worries, boys. Wish you all the best, guys.
Bye.
Ta-